Okay, another brand new episode of the Industry45 Podcast Show. I am your host, Shane Christopher Neal. Thank you for hanging out. Giant TV Niagara on YouTube. GiantTV.ca is the website. And today, talk to a gentleman who, is in a pretty influential band in my books. The band started out in Sacramento, California in the early 80s. They were called Earthshaker, then City Kid for a few years. Eventually, that band became known as Tesla. Today I speak with bass player and founding member Brian Wheat. Tesla put out 5-man London Jam in March of 2020. They recorded it live at Abbey Road in London, England. And we talk about the creation of that album, a little bit about the previous album, which is just amazing, called Shock, an album that was produced by Phil Collen of Def Leppard. We talk about enhanced photography, which Brian has been doing for a few years. And we also talk about a brand new book that he's coming out with, which really has nothing to do with the music industry, but more about his personal life. A great conversation, a great guy. It is Brian Wheat from Tesla right now on the Industry45 Podcast Show. All right, it was March 27th. 5-man London Jam came up from the band Tesla. Brian Wheat is on the phone. How you doing, my friend?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. The first question I got is, what does a rock star like you do in isolation? You must be just chomping at the bit.
Write songs.
Yeah, I get that's a good plan. Here's
mix records.
And mix records, right?
Write songs, mix records, unpack. I just moved. We bought a house in New York up in the Finger Lakes, up by Rochester and Syracuse. And I've been unpacking and mixing stuff and working on some new music. So I'm staying pretty busy.
Well, you would have been really busy because you had a tour that was going to start, I think, on Valentine's Day, which obviously isn't happening.
Yeah, it got canceled.
So what?
Postponed or whatever they want to call it. I mean, truth of the matter is no one knows when concerts are going to come back. So we're kind of just sitting in limbo waiting.
Was the last concert you played Monsters of Rock or no?
No, the last concert we played was Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay, so it was after Monsters of Rock.
That was in February.
Okay.
Or was it January, the end of January, or the end of February?
Yeah, because the lockdown came in March, I guess.
In the February.
So let's talk about this. I want to, you put out the album Shock, right, in March of 2019. You recorded 5-man London Jam basically, in June of 2019? And just put this out. How long was this in the making to put this thing together?
Well, what happened was, while we were sitting in the marketing meetings in Los Angeles, setting up the Shock record, it had came across the table to go to Europe and do some festivals, right? Download and Hellfest and a few of the large festivals in Europe. And this guy, Andrew Daw, who's our liaison at Universal, said, if you do the download thing, why don't we see about going into Abbey Road and doing something in Abbey Road? Because people go into Abbey Road and record and do things there. And I said, well, I'm convinced on the 8th day God created the Beatles and Paul McCartney. So me being that kind of a guy, I jumped at the opportunity and, sold it to the band and said we should do this. So that was, planned then. So when we went over there, we said, well, what do we do? Do we go in and just set up electrically, all this stuff? And then we went, well, it's the 30th anniversary coming of 5-man Acoustic Jam, our live acoustic album that had signs on it. Why don't we go in there and kind of do, a tribute to that album being 30 years old, play some of that stuff acoustically and play a bunch of this stuff, because that record was made in 1990.
Right.
So, there's almost 30 years of more material that, had never been done acoustically. So we did. So we did the things off 5-man Acoustic Jam, and we had to do We Can Work It Out because the Beatles did it there.
Right.
And it was acoustic. And then we did some stuff off the Shock record because that was the record we were doing at the time. And we did some stuff that
we had never played acoustically before. And that's what became Five-Man London Jam. And, I think the record companies and everybody wanted to get it out now because it's the 30th anniversary of, the Five-Man Acoustic Jam. So, it all tied in with marketing and everything else. And
so did you play to an audience as well too when you were there, like a record label?
But it wasn't your typical audience. It was like 20 English journalists, from the rock magazines in England.
Oh, that's fun.
All sitting there, with their notepads out and stuff. So that was a bit weird, to be quite honest. That was a bit of a weird thing. It's like doing a showcase or something. I much preferred that we would have had 50 contest winners in there that were actual hardcore Tesla fans. And I think, the vibe would have been all the better. Although I think it turned out really well, I think it could have been even better had we had an actual audience to feed off of.
Now, they wouldn't let you? Is that the way it is over there?
Well, Abbey Road's really strict on who they let in the building. So that was kind of dictated by Abbey Road Studios.
Had you ever been in there before?
I mastered some. I have a small label, and I manage young bands, and I develop young bands, and I had mastered one of the records. This band I manage in England called Flash Fires. I mastered their record at Abbey Road Studios.
Nice. I got to say I think the only time, maybe not, but the first time I did see Tesla was back in the early 90s. Darien Lake, Niagara Falls, I call it Niagara Falls, Buffalo, New York. What am I talking about? Darien Lake. But that's before they had the amphitheater, and Firehouse opened the show. And I remember I was sitting on kind of the grassy area. But that was one of the first times I seen Tesla. I think through the years I've caught your band a couple of times. I've always been a big fan. In fact, I played a band that plays a Tesla song, Love Song, and it goes over very well. Very well. I want to ask you quickly just about the album Shock, though. You had Phil Collen produce the album, and I know that you've been close with Def Leppard for a number of years. What was that like? Because the Shock album, I really like the album, by the way. Sounds a little bit different, though, than some of the past Tesla records.
Yeah, I think it sounds completely different than all the Tesla records, because it's probably the most produced record we ever made, which was deliberate. We are very close with Phil Collins. He's like our brother. And, we had done a track with him, a track he wrote called Save That Goodness. And we had such a good time doing that. We said, what should we try to do an album together? And everyone was like, yeah, cool. So, Phil, he's in Def Leppard. And they take a lot of time and effort producing their records and all this. And Tesla has been always more of an organic, jump in a room and play together kind of band.
Right.
So we decided, well, let's try, working the way Phil does, where, it's a little bit more thought out and really, put together, and, just don't go after the first thing that you do. Right. So we did that, and I think the record turned out fucking great. I love it. Some people, the hardcore, Tesla fans, didn't like it, and some people thought it was great. I mean, I equate it kind of like someone that liked Master of Puppets that hated the Black Album, with Metallica.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a bit of what you got. You got people who loved the growth and the new thing we were trying to do. But a record is always a snapshot in time. And that, the one thing Tesla does is we try not to do the same thing over and over again. I mean, so, we did this really produced record. And the next record we put out is Five-Man London Jam, which is a live acoustic record in one take. So we try not to repeat ourselves, even though, sure, we've done an acoustic album before, but it was 30 years ago. So not, every year, So I really enjoyed Shock. I really enjoyed working with Phil. I thought he did an amazing job. I thought the record sounds great. Some people love it. Some people absolutely hate it. And I think that's what you want. You don't want people who are going, well, that's okay. I'd rather have someone go, I fucking hate that record, or someone say, I absolutely love that record.
And I think we accomplished what we wanted to do.
Well, it's funny because I've always been a Tesla fan and own the albums. And then when I was playing Shock, I don't know, a month ago or whatever, just from top to bottom, cleaning my house, and it's on, and I'm like, shit. I mean, yeah, it's different, but I loved it as well. I don't love it more or less. I think the old Tesla sound is great.
Like Tesla. When Jeff Keith opens his mouth and sings, you know,
absolutely.
It's Tesla.
That's what I was going to ask you next is, like, you know what? You guys are so lucky in a sense that you've got such the voice of Tesla is unforgettable. And like you said, you could hear, you know, 3 seconds of a song that the vocals start and you're like, that's Tesla. You know, Jeff is just one of those unique singers that's brought his game. And even now, how many years later, he still sounds great.
Yeah, 35 years later.
Wow. So what I guess you don't know what your plans are going to be now since the tour is postponed and whatnot.
Well, no, we're kind of in limbo, aren't we? We're just sitting around waiting for someone to say, you can go play concerts again, and it's okay to go out to concerts, you know?
Right.
I mean, right now, people are trying to get restaurants to open back up. So I don't know, you know, hopefully it's not too long, but who knows how long it's going to be. So you're just sitting here, you know, biding your time, hoping that, you know, we all come out of this, you know, stronger than we were before.
Question that's not music related. Your enhanced photography. Are you still doing enhanced photography? Is that maybe something
Absolutely,
you're spending time
on? I'm doing some painting here as we speak in New York. So, I am painting and on my photography, and I'm still doing that. But unfortunately, the galleries are shut down because no one can go to them.
Right.
So, you know, that's kind of put a ding in people going and buying this stuff, which, you know, you don't want to do too many paintings where you're sitting on a stockpile of them. You know what I mean?
Can you sell them online though too, or like through whatever? Like
you do, but my stuff you really got to see in person because it's an enhanced photography and there's a lot of depth to it. Like if you looked at it, there'd be like 3 layers, so you can't capture that 3D depth on a photograph of the painting. When you see it, you go, "Oh wow, that's cool." So it's the kind of thing where you got to see him on the wall.
Last question. Being a drummer that I am, and I see, I mean, and you being a bass player in the rhythm section, just real quick about on playing so many years with Troy. You guys are such a solid rhythm section in that band.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
no,
just a comment on playing with him and what that's been like over 30 years and plus. I just find that you guys just have really a unique, cool thing going on.
Well, you know, we've been playing together a long time, and we've learned how to play with each other. And we actually came pretty quick. You know, when I first started playing with him, I wasn't probably the best bass player. You know, but I developed and caught up very quickly. And, he's great. Troy's a great fucking drummer.
And you played with Ray Luzier, too. Did you not on tour some shows as well?
What's that?
You played with Ray Luzier as well on tour, I think.
No, he did one show with us in Japan.
Okay, that's
the Classic Rock. He's another great drummer.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, I also have another band that I'm in called Soul Motor, that I started when Tesla broke up in 1995, and I've had that band ever since. And Troy recorded the second album I did with that, Revolution Wheel. He recorded that, and I've used a few other drummers. And I'm going to put that album out this year, the new Soul Motor record. And I have a book coming out this year entitled Son of a Milkman.
And it's about what?
Which is kind of my memoirs of, you know, my life and things I go through that are not musically related, as well as, you know, the story of, you know, Tesla and stuff. So this year's going to be a busy year for me, hopefully.
Nice. Well, Brian, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for a nice interview. I appreciate that.